por ele apareceu ali do nada, tá certo? Então, na verdade, o Michio Kaku, ele é professor da Universidade de Nova York, né? Aqui, ó, tem uma descrição completa dele aqui, né? Ele é o físico do impossível. É hoje o principal porta-voz da física teórica no mundo, com pesquisas que englobam desde a teoria de tudo até a teoria do campo de cordas, da qual é co-criador. Kaku busca revolucionar e desvendar os mistérios do universo através de simples equações. Ele é professor na Universidade da cidade de Nova York, já escreveu 9 livros que fizeram dele uma referência para inúmeros programas de televisão e documentários, né? Agora, além disso, ele estava me contando aqui, antes de a gente começar, que fizeram uma pesquisa em Nova York e listaram as 100 pessoas mais inteligentes de Nova York. E ele faz parte dessa lista, tá certo? Então, eu queria apresentar para vocês Michio Kaku. Yeah, and I think you're just going to start. So,
whatever.
Okay. With you, com vocês, Michio Kaku.
Right. Do I use this?
You have it right here.
Oh, right.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much. After such a great introduction, I can't wait to hear the speaker myself. Now, it's true that New York Magazine recently voted me as one of the 100 smartest people in New York City. That was a great honor. However, I have to admit that Madonna also made that same list. So, and next year, I think Lady Gaga will push me off the list entirely. Okay? Now, I'm a physicist. We invented the transistor. We invented the laser. We created the first computer. We wrote the World Wide Web. We also created television. We invented radio. We invented X-ray machines, radar machines, microwaves, MRI scans, PET scans. Oh, hello, hello. Hello? 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 Okay. So we physicists invented most of the 20th century, and we love to make predictions. When we physicists invented the internet, one physicist made a prediction. He predicted that the internet would become a forum of high culture, high art, and high society. Today we know that 5% of the internet is pornography. But that's because teenage boys log on to the internet. Just wait until the grandmas and grandpas log on to the internet. Then 50% of the internet will be pornography. Before I begin, let me make a short story. Over 200 years ago, we had the great French Revolution. And one day, there were 3 gentlemen about to have their heads cut off at the guillotine. There was a priest, a lawyer, and a physicist, just like me, about to have our heads cut off. Well, they put the priest's head on the chopping block, and they asked him, "What do you say before we chop your head off?" And the priest said, God from above, he shall set me free." Well, they raised the blade. The blade came down, swish, and stopped right before it hit the neck of the priest. Well, the crowd had never seen this before. And so the crowd said, "Let the priest go. God has spoken today." Now let's see about the lawyer. They put the lawyer's head on the chopping block. And they asked him, do you have any last words before we cut your head off? And the lawyer said, yes. He said, maybe justice, the spirit of justice shall set me free. Well, they raised the blade. The blade came down, swish, and stopped right before it hit the neck of the lawyer. This time the crowd went crazy. There was dancing in the streets of Paris. People were saying, God has spoken. Justice has spoken. And now let's see about the physicist. They put the physicist's head on the chopping block. And they asked him, do you have any last words before we cut your head off? And the physicist said, yes. Yeah, I got some last words. And he said, you know, I don't know too much about God. And I know even less about the law. But I do know one thing. If you look up, you'll see that the rope is stuck on the pulley. And then he said, if you remove the rope, the blade should come down real good. Well, the rope came down, the blade came down, and the poor physicist's head came down. And the moral of the story is, sometimes we physicists have to know when to keep our mouths shut. But today, let me take you on a guided tour of the future. My latest book is Physics of the Future. It will be available in Portuguese. It talks about the next 100 years. What will the year 2100 look like? I've interviewed over 300 of the world's top scientists for BBC television, the Discovery Channel, and the Science Channel to give you the most realistic understanding of the next 100 years. My last book, Physics of the Impossible, takes you 1,000 years into the future, into the world of time machines, starships, teleportation. But today, I'm going to talk about the next 20 years. What will science look like 20 years from now? First of all, when we make predictions, sometimes people say, how come you did not predict the crash of 2008? Well, actually, we did, but no one talks to scientists. Where does wealth come from? Wealth comes from science. But science is not uniform. Science occurs in waves. Each wave creates wealth, fantastic wealth. But wealth is restless. It moves. It creates a bubble. And when the bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger and pops, it creates a depression. So let's take a short history lesson. In 1800, we physicists worked out the steam engine. We helped to create the first locomotive. The first factories were built by scientists. This created fantastic wealth, the wealth of the Industrial Revolution. But wealth created a bubble on the London Stock Exchange. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in 1850, the bubble popped. This was the first Great Depression, the Depression of 1850. And it was created because science created steam power, which created the locomotive, which created a bubble, which popped in 1850. Well, we physicists then created electricity and the automobile. Again, that created wealth, fantastic wealth. The electric age, electrification of cities, gasoline-fired cars. That created enormous wealth. But where did it go? It went into the American Stock Exchange and created a bubble. The bubble got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it popped in 1929. So the second great wave created by physics created the crash of 1929. Well, you'd think we'd learn something, right? Nope. This time, physicists created the third wave of wealth. Lasers, computers, transistors, the internet, iPods, iPads, GPS, all of it created by physics. It created a bubble, a huge bubble, a bubble in real estate. This time it was real estate, and the bubble popped in 2008. Sorry about that. Here is the question. What is the fourth wave? The first wave was steam power. The second wave was electricity. The third wave was computers and high technology. And now the big question is, what is the fourth wave? The fourth wave, which will create jobs, wealth, prosperity, and another bubble. And it will probably pop in 2090. The fourth wave could be a combination of telecommunications, biotechnology, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. The fourth wave, which will create wealth beyond imagination. So let's talk about the fourth wave. First of all, this is Moore's Law. It is the most important law in modern history. The wealth of nations depends on this one curve. This curve is the most important curve in all modern history. It says the computer power doubles every 18 months. This means I can predict what a computer will look like 10 years from now. 10 years from now, I predict the computer chips will cost 1 penny. That is the cost of scrap paper. Bubblegum wrappers cost a penny. So computer power will be everywhere and nowhere. Just like electricity. Where is electricity today? Electricity is under your feet, in the ceiling, in the wall. Electricity is everywhere and nowhere. That is where computer power will be in the future. It'll be in your clothing, the floor, the ceilings. In 10 years, the computer will disappear. And the internet will be everywhere, including your glasses. These internet glasses recognize people's faces. You will see somebody, and you will see the biography next to their name. And if they speak Chinese to you, you will see subtitles under their name. How many times have you been at a conference like this, and you bump into somebody, and you say, I know this person. I know this person. Who is this person? Jim, John, Jake. In the future, your eyeglasses will say, it's Jim, stupid. You saw him last year at last year's party. And let's say you're at a cocktail party. You're looking for a job. You don't know who the important people are. In the future, you will know exactly who to suck up to at any cocktail party. But maybe you don't want to look like someone from Star Trek. In the future, they will be fashionable. Young people, children, will want the internet in their eyeglass. It'll be beamed to the retina of your eye, or Your eyeglass will be a screen for the internet. Eventually, fashion models will wear these things. It'll be fashionable to have the internet everywhere and nowhere. But there's a problem. Some of you may not wear glasses. What do you do if you don't wear glasses? In the future, the internet will be in your contact lens. You will blink and you will go online. And who will buy these contact lenses? College students studying for final examinations. They will blink and all the answers will appear inside their contact lens. Who else will buy these contact lenses? Actors, actresses, politicians. You will never have to memorize a speech in the future. The script will be inside your contact lens. And who else will buy these contact lenses? People looking for a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Your contact lens will recognize everybody who is also looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend. When you walk by them, your glasses will light up and identify who is available, who is looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend. So when you want to date in the future, all you have to do is walk outside and your contact lens will identify everyone who's available that night. So in the future, tourists visiting Rome will no longer have to go to the ruins of Rome and see nothing. You will see the entire Roman Empire resurrected inside your contact lens. The military is also building these things. They want soldiers to have the internet of the battlefield. Now, you've seen this before. This is called augmented reality. Augmented reality is when you impose virtual reality on top of reality. Now, where have you seen this before? You've seen this before in a Hollywood movie. This is the former governor of California. In the movie Terminator, when the robot looks at you, there's a description of who you are. This is how we will live in the future. We will live like in the movie The Matrix. When you talk to somebody, you will know who they are. If they speak Chinese to you, you will see a translation under what they say. This is how we will live in the future. The military, students, actors, artists, astronauts, everybody will want to have the internet in their contact lens and in their eyeglass. So in the future, the internet will be everywhere. In your wristwatch, on the right, in your cell phone, and even paper will become intelligent in the future. This is intelligent paper. You scroll it out of your cell phone and you get a full TV screen inside your cell phone. Paper will become intelligent in the future. This is wallpaper that is intelligent. In the future, you will talk to your wallpaper and your wallpaper will talk back to you. It will be flexible. It will be intelligent. Today, if you don't like your wallpaper, you don't like the color or the design, what do? You suffer. In the future, you talk to the wall and say, please change color, please change design, and bingo, it changes. This is your living room of the future. Your living room will have 360-degree projection. It'll give you three-dimensional, accurate descriptions of whatever environment you want. Now, some people think that the internet is cold. The internet is impersonal, is mechanical. That's when it was first invented. When the internet was first invented, it was male-dominated. It was about winning a war against the Soviet Union. So the internet was originally male. Now, the internet is female. The internet is about touching people. It's about reaching out. It's about making contact with people. So the internet used to be male, and now the internet is female. So in the future, everything will be intelligent. This is causing problems for our language. In the English language, we will have contradiction in terms. For example, we will put chips in toys. Toys will become intelligent. And this is creating a problem for the English language. A contradiction in terms called smart Barbie dolls. Smart Barbie dolls are a contradiction in terms. Another contradiction in terms is Microsoft Works. Microsoft Works is also a contradiction in terms. This is television of the future. Today, you have to put on 3D glasses in order to see 3D. In the future, your television will have 3D without glasses. Without glasses. This is your office of the future. Your office of the future will have disposable computers. Computers that you write on and then throw away. These computers only cost a penny. You will write on them and throw them away like paper. This is your cubicle of the future. This is how you will work. It will be so beautiful, you will never get any work done. This is your car of the future. This is how you will drive to work. You will get in your car, and the car drives itself. This car has no driver. Look at the left. The driver is like this. The car drives itself. I had a chance to drive this car. BBC television put me in this car. So I was driving like this. Then the cameraman said, "Let go of the steering wheel." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Let go of the steering wheel." So I went like this. And the car drove itself. Now tonight, when you go home, try driving your car like this. Very difficult to drive your car like this. That's how you will drive in the future. This is how you will shop in the future. Today, you go to a dress store, you find a dress that is the right shape, right color, right designer, but it's the wrong size. What happens today? No sale. In the future, you take out your credit card. Your credit card has your three-dimensional measurements in it. You email it to the factory punches it out, and you get it the next day. In the future, everything will fit in the future. This is called mass customization. Things will be customized to your taste. Now, what does it all mean? This is building up to something called perfect capitalism. In the future, your cell phone, your contact lens, will walk into a store and you will know exactly what everything really costs. you will know everything about what you buy, how much it really costs, who has the cheapest product, what do other people say about that product. This is called perfect capitalism, when supply and demand are perfectly matched. Now, let's talk about an even bigger revolution, the revolution of biotechnology. Remember, what is the fourth wave? The first wave was steam power. The second wave was electricity. The third wave was computers. What will the fourth wave be? How small can you make a chip? This is a chip that is so small you can put it inside a pill. It has a TV camera and it has magnets. You swallow it, it goes into your stomach, and you use a magnet to guide it. And it takes a picture of the inside of your stomach. And it has a computer inside. This gives new meaning for the expression Intel inside. In the future, Intel will always be inside. Not only this, in the future, nanoparticles, molecules, will destroy cancer cells one by one. This already exists. Doctors are already using prototypes of cancer therapy which kills cancer cells one by one. Not chemotherapy. This is going to revolutionize cancer research. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the cure for cancer. Your toilet will have a chip in it. That chip will detect proteins, DNA fragments of cancer in your bodily fluids 10 years before a tumor forms. The word tumor will disappear from our language. You know, Steve Jobs died of pancreatic cancer recently. Most textbooks say that pancreatic cancer is very fast-moving, kills you in 2 to 3 years. Wrong. We now sequence the genes of pancreatic cancer. We now know that pancreatic cancer is a slow-growing cancer. It takes 20 years for a tumor to kill you. And in the last 3 years, you feel it. You feel sick in the last 3 years, and you're dead after that. Steve Jobs did not have to die if we have this technology, DNA chips. These chips will detect tumors 10 to 20 years before they kill you. So in the future, your toilet will tell you that you have cancer. No problem. You have 20 years to do something about it. Now in Star Trek, everybody knows the tricorder. The tricorder is something like this, and it tells you what's wrong with you. Impossible. Most people say, no way. No way can you have a tricorder that diagnoses disease just like this. Wrong. On the left is an MRI machine. It is huge. It is gigantic. An MRI machine weighs several tons, costs several $1 million. But now with computers, we can compensate for weak magnetic fields. Computers can compensate for small magnets. And on the right is the world's smallest MRI machine. It is this big. How small can you make an MRI machine? this big. This is the tricorder. The smallest MRI machine is this big because of computers compensating for weak magnetic fields. Now let's talk about DNA. DNA is a code, the code of life. To sequence your DNA today, to sequence your DNA costs $50,000. In the future, it will cost $100. Everyone here will have a CD with all their genes on it. This will be an owner's manual for your body. Your body will have an owner's manual. I had my genes read. BBC Television took my blood, sent it to Cambridge University, and they sequenced most of my genes. Not only that, you can also calculate where your ancestors came from about 20,000 years ago. So I now know where my ancestors came from 20,000 years ago. What do we do with this knowledge? One thing is to create organs of the body. This is an ear, just like this. It's made out of plastic. We put human cells inside the ear. They grow. They form an ear. Perfect ear from your own cells. Then the plastic dissolves, leaving a perfect ear. On the left is bone. We can grow bone. On the right are ears and noses. We can grow bone, skin, blood vessels, noses, ears, bladders. This is a human bladder grown from a young girl's own cells. We will grow most organs of the body. Now, what I'd like to do now is show you a video. The video comes from the Discovery Channel, and we're going to see how computers will allow us to create a human body shop. And then we're going to get back to the CD. So let's have the video now.
Machines interact like people, and bodies can be rebuilt from scratch. How will we wage war, fuel our need for power, commute to space? What life-saving innovations will be possible in the next 50 years?
Flying ambulances and intelligent clothing. Brain chips cure paralysis. Vital organs printed to order.
See how scientists today are making visions of tomorrow real. Physicist and futurist Michio Kaku will guide you through the medical breakthroughs that will change your life. The future is closer than you think.
It all starts now with the body.
50 years from now, you'll live in an intelligent house. You can program sensors to monitor your body and keep you healthy, yet guard your privacy.
Caution, alcohol level.
Because any information you reveal could come back to haunt you.
Let's keep this between us.
Computer chips connect you to the entire city, including your insurance company. The good news is you'll live a lot longer, because an agent gives you a remote physical every 3 days. The bad news? You'll have no secrets.
Wait, mucous membrane of the mouth? Send health memo immediately.
Bonjour, Monsieur Degas. Here are a few more tips for your dental care.
Privacy gets more
Brush
and
your
more
teeth
complex.
regularly using the ultrasound to flush.
She'll give away the fact that Alan was partying last night and his premiums will go up as a result.
Thanks for your attention.
You must be joking. Get the car, please.
Alan's clothing looks quite ordinary, but that's deceptive because woven inside the fabric are dozens of tiny computer chips and sensors monitoring his health. When he puts on his clothing, he goes online. Now get this. If he's ever knocked unconscious, his clothes will automatically identify his coordinates, alert the authorities, and upload his entire medical history before the ambulance arrives. In the future, you will have a doctor in your clothing.
When you have a severe accident, brain cells can die within 6 minutes. The ambulance of tomorrow will not only reach you in time, it will carry a medical revolution that can save your life.
Patient data registered. Alan Dega. Platinum class confirmed. Loss of blood, 35%. I suggest reversible death.
Okay.
After a severe accident or heart attack, every second brings us closer to death. So wouldn't it be great if one day we could somehow stop the clock? In the future, EMT crews could use a technique called reversible death or suspended animation. They will replace your blood with an ice-cold saline solution, dropping your body temperature to below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point, brain and heart activity come to a halt. And that's not the only blood substitute that one day could save your life.
50 years from now, we'll have cures for trauma victims that would seem like miracles today.
Your left thigh has been fractured and your hip is dislocated. 2 ribs and a second lumbar vertebra are also fractured, but you have a bigger problem. Your artificial heart has fissures.
You're gonna open me up.
You need a new heart. The print's already in progress. It'll only take another 20 hours.
Iris scan identified. Marie Balzac. Status, cleared for security zone. Have a nice evening.
In this high-security area, gene specialists have processed the patient's tissue sample. Now they are using it to print a heart.
If your car gets banged up because you're in a car accident, what do? You go to the body shop and get a new door or fender. But if you happen to be in that same accident, you could die. Now, consider this. In the United States alone, there are 91,000 patients waiting for an organ transplant. And of them, 18 die every day for an organ that never comes. What we need is a human body shop. And in 50 years' time, tissue engineering could change everything.
A child today with a defective heart valve has limited options. Valves from animals don't last long, and artificial valves can cause clots. Stephen Yuckenheuvel wants to avoid these problems by implanting the world's first heart valve grown exclusively from the body's own tissue. Within an hour, he has the rough form of a heart valve, which he places in a bioreactor. Next, he adds nutrients and cells which normally line heart valve walls. The cells latch onto the structure and start to grow. Within just 3 weeks, a complete heart valve has formed. Finally, a pump exercises the valve to strengthen its walls so it can withstand the high pressures in a human heart.
Patient hypotherm.
During surgery, doctors won't have to touch the patient.
Body temperature 46 degrees. Blood completely replaced with plasma solution.
Instead, surgeons will manipulate a 3D model of the body. These virtual images will revolutionize surgery in the next decades. With a click, doctors can switch from a scalpel to a saw. They open the thorax virtually, while robotic arms perform the actual incisions.
Are all the main arteries blocked?
Yes, you can remove the organ.
Now, this is not science fiction. This is reality. We scientists can already grow from your own cells skin, bone, noses, ears, cartilage, blood vessels, heart valves, bladders, windpipes. The next organ that we will grow is the liver. In 5 years, we hope to have the first liver from your own cells. So for you alcoholics in the audience, take heart. We will grow livers in the laboratory. Now, the next question is, what about the future of the computer itself? The computer will disappear. Computers will be everywhere and nowhere. So how will we control computers? With the mind. This is already in progress. This is like the movie Surrogates and the movie Avatar. Already, you can get an EEG sensor, put it on the back of your skull. It picks up the radio from your brain. A computer deciphers it, and you can control objects in your environment. This is today. In the future, we will put a chip directly on the brain, so you'll be able to control any computer you want. This person is a stroke victim. He is paralyzed. He cannot talk. He's like a vegetable. At Brown University, they put a chip on top of his brain, shown here, hooked it up to a computer, and then a laptop. By looking at his own cursor, he's able to control the cursor on a computer screen. This person is paralyzed. He's a vegetable. He can now read email, write email, play video games, do crossword puzzles, and surf the web. He can do anything you can do on a computer. One of my colleagues is Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking is a world-famous physicist, but he's lost control of his hands. He can no longer talk, and he basically blinks. He blinks, and that's how he communicates with the world. In the future, we may put a chip in his brain, so he'll be able to talk to us directly. In Japan, this is what they're doing in Japan. You put a helmet which picks up the electrical signals of the brain. That helmet controls Asimo, the robot. This is how the brain controls a robot via radio in Japan. This is the future of the space program. It's very dangerous to be on the moon. The moon has radiation, micrometeorites. There's no air in the moon. In the future, our astronauts may simply put on a helmet, control a robot on the moon. So we will have an operating moon base on the moon without ever leaving the Earth. So this is Avatar. In the movie Avatar, you put on a helmet and you control a clone. Today, you put on a helmet and you control Asimo the robot. Mind reading is also possible. Last week at Berkeley, where I got my PhD, scientists put on a helmet and they were able to pick out individual words that you are thinking about. We will have telepathy of some sort in the future. Now, this is today. Today, when you tell the truth, your brain doesn't do much when you tell the truth. But when you tell a lie, first, the brain has to know the lie. It has to construct the lie. It has to calculate the consistency of the lie with all the other lies you've been telling all these years. That's a lot of brain power. When you tell a lie, your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. So using this as a lie detector is already possible today. And in the future, even the courts may admit some version of this, that when you lie, your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. So what about true robots? When will we have robots like in the movies? Well, I have to be honest with you. Most of the robots you see in the movies are not robots at all. They're toys. There's a man inside, or there's somebody with remote control controlling the robot. These are not true robots. A true robot programs itself. It is self-aware. We don't have that yet. So this is Asimo. Asimo is the world's most advanced robot. Asimo can walk. Asimo can run. Asimo can climb up stairs, climb up a ladder. Asimo can dance. I've been on television several times with Asimo. Asimo dances much better than me. But the truth is, how smart is Asimo? I talked to the inventor of Asimo. He was very honest. He admitted to me that Asimo has the intelligence of a cockroach, a bug. Asimo can barely recognize objects in a room. He's basically a tape recorder. You tell Asimo what to do ahead of time, and like a tape recorder, it carries it out. So we have a long ways to go before we have true robots. So why is Japan building so many robots? 30% of all robots are built in Japan. 30%. Why? It's a mystery. Why is Japan spending so much effort building robots when they're so primitive? The reason is, these are future nurses. Japan is aging faster than any nation on the planet Earth. Who's next? Germany, Austria, Switzerland, they're next. They're aging very rapidly. These are robot nurses. That is why Japan is spending so much effort trying to build robots. These are not robot butlers, not robot chauffeurs, not robot maids, chauffeurs, secretaries. These are robot nurses. So today, our most advanced robots have the intelligence of a bug, a cockroach, a stupid cockroach, a lobotomized, stupid, retarded cockroach. But in the future, they will be as smart as a mouse. we will have robots as smart as a mouse. Then, perhaps as smart as a dog or a cat. Then, perhaps as smart as a monkey. When that happens, watch out. They could become dangerous when robots become as smart as a monkey. So what are we going to do? We're going to put a chip in their brain to shut them off if they have murderous thoughts. We will have plenty of warning before that happens. So some people fear that one day robots will become so smart, they'll be smarter than us. Then they will put us in zoos. They will put us behind bars. They'll throw peanuts at us and make us dance behind bars. Just like we make monkeys dance behind bars, we throw peanuts at them. Will that happen? Maybe. But I think we have many, many decades before we have to worry about that. And then we put a chip in their brain to shut them off. So let me say a few things about the job market. I've interviewed over 300 of the world's top scientists for BBC television, the Discovery Channel, the Science Channel, and they tell me that there are going to be winners and losers in the future. The big loser will be middlemen. Middlemen, the friction of capitalism, they will lose their jobs in the future. Low-level agents, low-level brokers, tellers, accountants. When you buy a ticket today, an airplane ticket, do you go through an agent today? No. You get on the internet and you buy an airplane ticket. Somebody lost a job. Therefore, how will middlemen survive in the future? Brokers, agents, tellers, accountants. How will they survive in the future? They will survive only by giving what robots cannot give. Robots do not have imagination, creativity, talent, experience, gossip. So if you're buying a house today, you get a real estate agent to buy a house. In the future, the internet will be your real estate agent. You'll see houses, prices, everything on the internet. So why do you need a broker? Why do you need an agent? Because the agent, listen carefully, the agent will tell you what a robot does not know. A robot will tell you who has the good police department, where the good schools are, where prices are rising, where prices are falling, where crime is high, where crime is low, the sewer system, the teachers, all the gossip, experience that a robot does not have. And so middlemen of the future will have to provide creativity, experience, knowledge, gossip, or they're going to be out of a job. So, who are the losers? In blue-collar work, repetitive blue-collar workers are going to be phased out in the future. Anything that is strictly repetitive will be eliminated by robots. Sorry about that. But this means that jobs that are semi-repetitive will thrive. Construction workers will have a job. Every construction site is different. Sanitation men will have a job. Every garbage is different. Gardeners will have a job. Every garden is different. Non-repetitive, blue-collar work will thrive in the future because robots are as smart as a bug. Also, scientists, people who are involved in the media, rock and roll, Hollywood movies, creating artwork, they will flourish because that's what robots cannot provide. Tony Blair likes to say that England derives more revenue from rock and roll than it does the coal industry. And that is true. Coal is a commodity. It's been declining in price all these years. But rock and roll cannot be duplicated by a machine. Machines cannot create rock and roll, and therefore England derives more revenue from rock and roll than it does the coal industry. So what about the wealth of nations? Well, if you take a look at the developed nations, like Europe, the United States, we're witnessing the transition from commodity capital to intellectual capital. That is the future. The future is intellectual capitalism. However, in emerging markets like China, India, Brazil, Russia, commodities are still important because of the rapid industrialization. Metals, oil, energy, natural resources, steel, basic commodities necessary for industrial revolution are still vital for emerging markets. But in the United States, we're witnessing the transition from commodity capital to intellectual capital. And what is intellectual capital? Anything that a robot cannot do. So let me wrap up. The theme of my talk today is, what is the fourth wave? The first wave was steam power. The second wave was electricity. The third wave was computers. You will make the fourth wave. This is your generation. You will create the future from the fourth wave. But remember that in the fourth wave, eventually the world economy will become intellectual capital rather than commodity capital. Now let me wind up now by telling a little story about my hero when I was growing up. My hero when I was growing up was Albert Einstein. Many of these devices are made possible by his theories. My favorite Einstein story is this. When Einstein was an old man, he was tired of giving the same talk over and over and over again. So one day his chauffeur came up to him and he said, "Professor, I'm a chauffeur, but I'm actually a part-time actor. I've heard your speech so many times I've memorized it. So why don't we switch places? I will put on a wig. I will put on a mustache. I will become Einstein, and you can take a rest and be my chauffeur." Well, Einstein loved the joke, so they switched places. And the chauffeur gave brilliant talks everywhere. But then one day, a mathematician in the back asked a very difficult question. And Einstein thought, oh, the game is up. But then the chauffeur said, that question is so elementary that even my chauffeur here will answer it for you. Thank you very much. It's been a great audience. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Maybe we have time for a question or two?
Yeah, there's 5 minutes. Just take the microphone. Just get the transcript.
Bem, pessoal, nós vamos fazer uns minutinhos para perguntas aqui, tá certo? Cadê o pessoal com os microfones? Vai ter um pessoal com os microfones para quem quiser fazer pergunta, mas enquanto isso, deixa eu anunciar algumas coisas aqui. Primeiro, tem o pessoal vendendo o livro do Michio Kaku aqui do lado, tá certo? Do lado direito do palco, né? Não é um livro sobre essa palestra, é um livro sobre a lei da relatividade de Einstein, tá certo? Mas quem estiver interessado em português, quem estiver interessado está sendo vendido aqui do lado, tá certo? Michio Kaku vai estar assinando, autografando o livro e tirando foto aqui no Campus Business, tá certo? Ele vai dar uns 15 minutos de descanso e depois ele vai estar assinando e tirando fotos aqui do lado. Então quem quiser que ele assine o livro, pode comprar o livro e levar lá, ou quem quiser tirar foto, entrar na fila ali na frente dessa salinha aqui da Campus Business, ok? Bem.
Okay, one question?
So we're going to ask questions in Portuguese and then translate for you.
Right, okay. One or two.
Okay. Pessoal, a gente tem tempo para 2 perguntas, tá certo? Aqui quem quiser levantar a mão, já tem um ali. Pessoal que está controlando aqui, a gente tem 2 perguntas. Por favor, faça a pergunta em português que vai ser traduzido para ele. Vai lá, a primeira ali.
Ok.
Em inglês? Posso perguntar em inglês?
Não, porque ele está com o tradutor, por favor, em português.
Com o avanço dos computadores quânticos, em algum momento o computador quântico poderá calcular as ondas de probabilidade da potência. We will be able to make matter with that. Poderemos fazer matéria com isso.
Okay, there are 2 separate questions. First is building the quantum computer. Second, building the replicator or the molecular synthesizer. Let's take them one at a time. First of all, quantum computers are the future of computers, but many decades from now. Quantum computers compute on atoms, individual atoms, and not molecules of silicon. In the future, Silicon Valley could become a Rust Belt because silicon cannot be miniaturized down to the molecular level. The next generation, we think, will be molecular transistors, molecular computers that use molecules to compute. So Silicon Valley could become a Rust Belt. Beyond that are quantum computers that compute on individual atoms. Now, some people believe that that may take many decades, maybe mid-century, before we have working quantum computers. The world's record for a quantum computer calculation is 3 times 5 is 15. Now, you may already know that 3 times 5 is 15. But go home tonight, take 5 atoms, and prove to me that 3 times 5 is 15. That was done by IBM. Now, then the gentleman asked another question. When will we have replicators? Replicators allow you to create something from nothing. Mother Nature does it. Mother Nature can take hamburgers, French fries, give it to a young girl, and then in 9 months, you have a baby. Nature does it. But can we build something from nothing, atom for atom? That may unfortunately take another 100 years. However, within 100 years' time, we might be able to manipulate individual atoms to create anything from nothing. Okay, next question.
Boa tarde. Minha pergunta é o seguinte, o senhor falou sobre no futuro a internet vai estar em lentes de contato, em óculos, e falou também sobre o perfeito capitalismo, onde todos nós podemos ter acesso a todas as informações sobre o produto que nós vamos adquirir. Eu queria saber qual é a sua previsão a respeito sobre essas duas coisas no futuro, se hoje nós estamos vivendo um período em que governos e grandes corporações tentam privar todos nós de termos a liberdade de termos acesso a essas informações. Como, por exemplo, o governo oferece péssimos serviços de banda larga, com preços muito caros em relação a Japão, Estados Unidos. Eu queria saber qual é a previsão que o senhor tem a respeito disso, né? Se nós estamos sendo privados, como, por exemplo, com essas atitudes, como sopa, acta e pipa.
Nations will always try to control information. Hitler tried it. Stalin tried it. Every government tries to control information because information is power. But nations are getting weaker and weaker every year because the internet is democratic. Nobody can stop the internet. If President Barack Obama tomorrow were to ban the internet, people would laugh. They would just laugh. It is impossible. That means that every year it will get easier to gain access to the internet. Look at North Korea. North Korea can survive as a government because the government controls all information in Korea. But in the future, you'll have your cell phone on your wristwatch, and with your wristwatch, you'll communicate with satellites and download as much information as you want on your wristwatch. How can you stop that? So in the future, it'll be more and more difficult for nations to control information when it's available on satellites, and no country can stop you from your wristwatch downloading this information. But in the short term, nations will always try to control information. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.